Lakeview in Cyprus, Negro male attacking Caucasian male, allegedly by hanging him upside down.
We are close by and will respond. You are too busy to talk to me. See me now. In 5 days' time, but you're not too busy now.
What? What do you want? What?
$50,000. Do you hear me? $50,000. No later than tomorrow. Or perhaps the next time this rope will be around your neck. Drop the knife! Wait, officer!
Lower the rope.
Diplomat. What? I'm an official of the Republic of Nakanga.
What was that?
He says he's a diplomat.
Some diplomat. Take him in.
I must say, nobody knows the crimes that were committed in the name of charity. But attempted murder, I never expected.
Mr. Inborough, why don't you take a chance? Tell us what your problem is. Maybe we can help you.
I've been telling you what it is. This man was told that I'm active in charity fundraising. That's how I try to pass along some of my own good fortune. So he wanted me to raise money for his country, where there happens to be a lot of hunger and starvation, God help them. But I wasn't able to. So he made up his mind to cut my throat.
You sure it wasn't for something that could have happened in your restaurant, Mr. Finneman?
Like what?
Heartburn? No, I mean in the upstairs room. There's no food on the table, just cards. And the proceeds don't go to charity either.
I mean, you're bugging me about a few family games? And this wild man is out to get my life. What are you going to do about him?
I don't know. If he really is an official from Takanga, and he has diplomatic immunity, there's not much we're going to be able to do about it.
Well, maybe he is and maybe he isn't. Can I talk to you, Sam?
Yeah.
This guy really is a deputy cabinet minister. How do you like that? But he has no immunity. Takanga is one of those breakaway provinces that Washington hasn't recognized yet.
Well, I don't recognize you in the striped pants.
Well, he has a lawyer downstairs, and he's waiting for him.
Got a lawyer already?
Yeah. Takanga has a commercial development mission in Washington, so they sent him a lawyer. Some ambulance chaser that nobody ever heard of.
Who?
Clinton Judd.
Strandborough, what was the nature of your grievance against the complainant, Finneman?
I put together a lot of money, $50,000. Some from government funds I could control, some from a few friends. And this money was given to Fenneman to start an entire public relations campaign, from which would flow to us millions of dollars, American charity money. Not one penny did we ever get.
You feel that Fenneman robbed you?
But of course.
Did you complain to the police?
Ridiculous.
Why is that ridiculous?
Because the police in your country are no different from the former colonial police in my country. They always help those who have the money against those who have not. Do you deny this?
Strandborough, will you tell me how you got to be a deputy cabinet minister?
Politics. I was appointed to satisfy my tribe. I'm a chief, you know.
So I'm told. How did you get to be a chief?
By going out into the bush with only my spear and killing more leopards than anyone else.
Well, Mr. Strandborough, maybe the way I got to where I am as a trial lawyer is a matter of what I do to policemen.
So here we go again, friends. Bill Deacon Jr. Playing for you the music my customers ask for most. When sober. And on the flip side, when smashed. No. It just doesn't work, Milton. Let me take 10. We'll try the intro a different way.
Mr. Deacon, I'd like you to be Mr. Judge.
Mr. Deacon?
Judd, would you mind telling Mr. Judd exactly what you told Sergeant Stone and myself?
All right, fine. Goes like this. Republic of Tacunda, right? Now, they got 2 nightclubs there. Count them. 1.5. Anyway, I'm playing number 1. And that's where I met Mburu. And he suggested to me that American public relations could do a job by helping to raise money to feed all those starving people there.
He suggested to you.
Well, no hang-up either way. We all wanted good for everybody. So Mburu raised $50,000, and he gave it to me. When I got stateside, I gave it to Charlie Finnerman, who has all kind of great contacts in charity fundraising circles. Now, Charlie spent the money to hire public relations types who worked with direct mail types and billboard promotion types. And that's where the money went. And Charlie Finnerman has receipts.
So that's it for a fraud case. Now, Mr. Judd, let's talk about your client, the leopard. Sam says either you put a leopard in a cage, or you send him back to his own kind of country and turn him loose.
How do we accomplish the second thought?
Let him plead guilty to felonious assault at the arraignment. And we'll ask the DA to agree to deportation. What do you say?
I say tell Sam it was a nice try. I'll see him in court.
Yes, on arrival at the scene, I observed the defendant with a knife in his hand. That is correct.
Now, Sergeant Stone, I'll ask you to think very carefully before answering this next question. Was the defendant pointing the knife at the complainant?
No, he was not.
Was he moving it or gesturing with it in any way to indicate that he intended to harm the complainant?
No, he wasn't.
Yet you testified on direct examination that he was menacing the complainant.
That is correct.
How was he menacing him?
By holding the knife.
Meaning that the only thing it was possible for him to do with that knife was attack the complainant?
Well, I didn't stop to guess at the various possibilities at the time.
Well, how about now?
You're asking me to guess on the witness stand, Counselor?
I'm asking you to say whether in your expert opinion as a police officer of long experience, if it isn't also possible that what the defendant intended to do with his knife was cut the rope.
Yes, that's possible.
Your Honor, we have a complainant who by his own testimony was hanging upside down and didn't actually see very much. We have an arresting officer who concedes that the defendant might have been trying to rescue the complainant. I submit that whatever else might have happened, that there is no prima facie case of assault with intent to commit grievous bodily harm, and I move that this case be dismissed. Sergeant Stone, I want to say I appreciate your answering my question so directly. If you'd hedged, I don't think I could have had the case dismissed.
So where are we, Mr. Judd? Your leopard man will be prowling around out there looking for his money, and if he doesn't find it, he may use that knife. I'm not sure I did a good thing.
I'd like to show you a clipping Mburu handed me from an American newspaper.
The feeling exists that the police are not the impartial protectors of all citizens, which they're supposed to be, but an embattled social group with some dislike of reporters and photographers and strong hostility toward blacks.
Anytime a policeman can counter that impression, Sergeant, I think he's done a very good thing.
Now what do we do about Mburu?
Help me, will you? Watch him for a few hours. Maybe take him out to dinner.
Is that how you want to solve the problem? Sam, a word from you could have had him convicted and deported.
It just occurred to me to try another way.
Like Finnerman? You want us to tackle Finnerman without any evidence?
Not us, me, just me. And Burrow, but do you want to help me catch him, please? Direct mail service. Is that right?
If that's what the bill says.
Who at Heffley Direct Mail can verify this?
Nobody. They're out of business.
Mm-hmm.
How about Edward J. Pellegrino, fundraising counsel? You paid him $5,000?
Eddie Pellegrino's dead.
You know, Mr. Fenneman, for a man who claims he spent $50,000 to launch a charity drive, you have very little to show.
What do you mean, claim? Phone call for you, sir. You can take it over here.
Thank you.
Hello.
Sam, Bud and Burrow. Ray Hendricks took him over to his place. He should have a nice evening with the family.
Okay, fine. What else have you done to earn your pay?
I got a rundown on Charles Finneman. No record in this jurisdiction or anywhere else within the past 10 years. But before that, 2 federal indictments for mail fraud.
Is that so?
And 2 indictments for used car swindles, 1 conviction.
Uh-huh.
In the state of Nevada, they barred him from participating in a casino partnership.
I'll see you later. Mr. Fenneman, I've got the best idea of all. Why don't you give Burrow back his $50,000, hmm?
Let me ask you a stupid question. Why?
What should I say to a swindler? That you shouldn't swindle a whole hungry country? Let me put it this way, Mr. Fenneman. If you don't give back the money, you've got 2 problems. One is in Burrow, and the other is me, because I'm going to make a case on you.
Get out of my place. You proved that I retained $1 of that wild man's money. Go ahead, try it. $1 looks exactly like another dollar, especially in a bank.
I didn't say I could prove it. I just said I was going to make a case on you. I didn't say of what.
Oh, boy.
So he will help me, eh? This Sergeant Stone. Do you expect I will believe that? Or is the real idea to get me to sit on my hands and not make any more trouble for your police?
I believe Sam Stone will try to do everything he said he would.
But I am a guest in your house. You are supposed to tell me the truth.
Look, Mr. Mburo, why not relax and wait and see what the sergeant can do for you?
He will do nothing. Even if he could, I had no money to bribe him with.
Do you think he's looking for a bribe? Because he's white?
Because he's a policeman. Black or white, it does not make a difference. Except, of course, in my country, where we are the police. I think I will leave now.
Oh, no, Ray, he can't do that.
I thought I was not to be arrested.
You're not arrested. It's just that she cooked dinner kind of specially for you.
Won't you please be seated, Mr. Mburu? Oh, come on, Mr. Mburu.
Ah, you're a very strong boy.
I am?
Yes, as strong as a lion. How'd you get to be so strong?
I eat.
You must eat like a lion. Tell me, madam, how much does it cost to feed a good, strong boy like this?
How much does it cost? Well, I don't know, but...
But whatever the cost, you manage to have enough.
So far.
Good. Let me ask you this, Mr. Hendricks. If you had not enough money to feed your boy, or 100,000 others like him, if a thief had stolen money you could well use for them, would you be content to sit on your hands and do nothing?
You're asking for trouble, Sam. Fenneman's friends are sharp operators. They don't play with money on the table.
Yeah. Well, okay, here. You play with these.
for, Sergeant?
What I'm looking for obviously isn't here. So now I'll have to settle for a magnetized roulette wheel or even a few marked decks. Got me around?
You're on the premises illegally. You admit that?
Who admits anything these days without consulting his lawyer?
Throw him out. Are you ready to leave yet?
Not yet.
Listen, what's the matter with you? Whatever you did manage to find in an illegal entrance would be inadmissible evidence. You couldn't use it against me.
In a prosecution, right. Did I say I intended to prosecute you?
So what do you intend?
Just give me a few minutes. If I find what I'm looking for, I'll let you know. Okay. Now I can leave. They don't use mirrors anymore. Card thieves use electronics now. Someone pushes a button, and a prod sticks him in the leg, tells him when to bet, pass, or fold. Some man reading the sucker's hand could be there, or here, or there, or there. He calls at every angle.
Okay. So what can you do? By the time you tell a judge and come back with a warrant, there'll be no electric prod, holes in the walls. Maybe there'll be no walls.
I still have to tell a judge. And I may also tell Johnny Lobel, Manny Marcos, Pete the Dutchman Henning, and the rest of the muscle who gamble here.
All right, what do you want?
$50,000. Returned to Enboro. In cash. Tomorrow morning.
Hi, Sam.
All right. You know where Jim is?
I just got here myself. Hey, Sergeant.
Yeah.
About Mburu. Were you able to do any good for him?
Thanks. Yeah, I think so.
Well, then maybe you better get a hold of him and tell him. Because otherwise, according to what he said at my house, he's not going to sit on his hands.
Well, did you reach him?
He's gone.
What do you mean, gone?
I mean, he went straight from Ray's house back to his hotel and checked out. I'll call in.
Don't rush.
Enboro, did you see this?
No.
Did you give him a chance to show it to you?
No.
No, you just stepped right up and killed him, huh?
I wouldn't question him now, Sam.
Look what you missed, Enboro. $50,000, your money ready and waiting. Why couldn't you have trusted me?
Why should I? I've heard what your own people call you, the fuzz. And if they don't trust you, why should I? Something has to be very, very wrong.
Yeah, well, forget it. You did what you said you would. The money was waiting. Whatever's wrong, it's not with you.
Yeah, sure. And a big success. Man comes out of the jungle. They make him a government official, controlling money. He's civilized enough to get himself swindled, but he's not civilized enough to let the professional police take over. Now, what kind of a college course is going to teach us how to handle a man like that?
Is that your cop-out, Sergeant? Meaning you know in your bones that if you hadn't mishandled this case, my client wouldn't be sitting in here charged with murder one?
All right, Counselor. You've got a slew of college degrees. Let's see how you handle it. Mr. Anboro, your lawyer's here. It's not my job to give advice. It's for your own good, Mr. Anboro. You better make up your own mind to trust Mr. Judd a little more than you trusted me.
I am told, Mr. Judd, that you are an important lawyer. But what is your idea of law? And what is mine? We have in my country the case of two men, one from my tribe and one from another. They were fishing together on the river. Suddenly, a hippopotamus came to the surface, upset their canoe, and killed the man from the other tribe. His family demanded that the man from my tribe should be punished.
Why?
Because he invited the dead man to go fishing. And they also demanded that my entire tribe be made to pay a fine, because they shared in the responsibility. Is this not a just law?
I can't say that it is.
Then how do you expect me to put my trust in you?
Sergeant. Did I say something about your mishandling this case?
You did?
I take it back. This man is evidently the product of a culture, a whole way of life so different from anything here, or in Europe, or for that matter, on a large part of his own continent. Well, I blame an American cop for not being able to reach him. Nobody else has either.
Yeah. Well, good luck to you, Gast.
This court is in session. Is the district attorney ready to proceed?
Your Honor, this is a case of murder in the first degree. The defendant, Marcel Nburu, a national of the Republic of Takanga, is charged with having willfully and with premeditation caused the death of one Charles G. Fennerman in and of this county.
Defendant is represented by counsel.
Your Honor, the answer would appear to be yes and no.
How's that again? Oh, yes, Mr. Judd.
I was requested by the Takangan Commercial Mission in Washington to represent Mr. Nburu, Your Honor, but Mr. Nburu has indicated that he doesn't place any trust in me.
Mr. Orloff, can you give me an idea of the specifics of this charge?
I can, Your Honor. I can present the two arresting officers, Sergeant Stone and Detective Briggs, who will testify that they found the defendant almost literally standing over the dead body of the deceased, after he, the defendant, had once before been arrested for threatening the deceased.
Oh, that's enough for now. Mr., how do you pronounce the name, N-B-U-R-U? Nburu?
Nburu, Your Honor.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Sergeant Stone. Mr. Nburu, you've got to be represented by a lawyer. Let me ask you why you don't want to trust Mr. Judd. He's been recommended to you by the Takangan Commercial Mission. Now, you trust them, don't you?
No. Why should I trust them?
Well, they're from your own country, aren't they?
Yes. They are not from my tribe.
Your Honor, under the circumstances, will the court permit me to plead the defendant not guilty and request a jury trial?
Right, yes, that's the only way to go for the time being. There'll be no bail, of course. Defendant is remanded into custody.
Mr. Judd.
Sergeant Stone.
Let me ask you, how would you defend this man? I mean, what could his defense possibly be?
Any good suggestions are welcome.
Seems to me a man who lives on the edge of the jungle and probably many times took after his enemies with a club. How can this man possibly know right from wrong by our standards?
How about temporary insanity? Man invests $50,000 on a swindler's promise to raise millions for the starving kids in his home country, and gets no assurance the American police are going to help him recover his money. Who's at fault if a man like that loses his head?
Well, I could testify he didn't think much of us, if that'll help him.
Now, Sergeant, I don't know if it would. I don't even think I'm going to be his lawyer.
I wouldn't give up just yet, Mr. Judd. The bailiff asked me to tell you that Nburu wants to see you.
I will engage you now, Mr. Judd.
You're, sure you want to?
Yes, because I now have at my disposal a certain amount of money, and I can pay you. If you can pay a man, you can control him. This is perhaps not the same as being able to trust him, but it is the next best thing.
When did you acquire this money, Mr. Mburu? In the few minutes between leaving the courtroom and sending for me?
No, but in the court there was no chance to make my conditions.
All right, let's hear your conditions.
You will accept no money from the Takangan commercial mission. I want to be the only one that pays you. Don't worry, I will pay you plenty. Maybe as much as $2,000. On the day you get me off.
Get you off?
That was not the way to say it. And I thought I had learned all the fine points of English at the missionary school.
Your English is great, but considering the case against you, your best defense might be to plead guilty to a lesser charge.
No, I will not.
I advise you to think about it. Now, if you didn't actually intend to kill Fenneman, then it could come out involuntary manslaughter, and you might not spend more than a year in prison.
Why should I spend any time in your prison when I didn't kill him at all?
You didn't?
Such a possibility did not occur to you,
Did you tell anyone you didn't kill the man?
Was I supposed to tell anything to anybody before I had the advice of a damn clever lawyer like you?
All right, let's see what else everybody is taking for granted. You did feel that Fenneman had cheated you out of $50,000.
Cheated my country, yes.
You did assault him once and threaten worse if he didn't give back the money.
I warned him, yes.
You did go to Fenneman's restaurant at the time in question. And upstairs to the gaming room where Fenneman was alone?
Yes.
Now, for what purpose did you go to see Fenneman, and what exactly did you do to him when you got there?
It was of no matter what purpose I had in mind. I did to him exactly nothing. He was already dead. Well, to tell the truth, I did a little bit. I turned him over to see if he was breathing, which he was not.
And then?
Then, when I was still thinking what to do, the policeman came and found me. The young man said not to ask me any questions. And they took hold of me. Well, I don't like very much for anybody to do that. And I was showing them how much I don't like it when they managed to throw me down the stairs. Well?
Well, Mr. Mburu, this is very interesting. Sergeant Stone asked me how I'd go about defending you. I never realized how simple the answer could be. Innocence is a good defense.
Then get me out of here. I am innocent. Get me out, Mr. Judd. Not only out of this room, this terrible building. I want to get out of this great, rich country of yours with all its sidewalks and automobiles and smoke and noise. I want to go home where I can breathe the air. I am getting sick here, I tell you. I am getting sick.
If you mean actually sick, we can send you a doctor.
No, no. What can a doctor do to help me? Blow away the smog?
All right, Mr. Mburu, I'll take the case. Now, my office is back in Houston, so I can't be here all the time. But I have an associate, Ben Caldwell, who will spend part of the time here helping to work up your defense. If that's all right with you.
Oh, yes, it's all right. It's fine. With two of you depending on my money, you will work harder to earn it.
Now, about this report that you filed with one of the arresting officers, I'd like to ask you about the...
Okay, go ahead.
Well, your report says that you found a lot of cash in Fenneman's body.
Right.
But you don't explain what the money was doing there. Now, come on. Briggs, the district attorney's office has to cooperate with us. Cease fire.
Look,
Check the
Counselor,
targets.
we're afraid your client might go after Fenneman again. Maybe kill him next time, right?
Right.
So to prevent that, Sam stuck his neck out. He went to Fenneman, convinced him to return the money to Mburu.
He did?
He did. That's what the money was doing in Fenneman's pocket. Your client would have had a little patience or even a little trust and waited in his hotel room a few more hours. He would have had the money in his pocket, if he has any pockets.
Group 2 on the firing line. Group 2. Sergeant Stone informed our client there was $50,000 in that envelope. The police property clerk counted exactly $28,650. What happened to the rest of the money?
Counselor, I give you my word, I don't know anything about that.
How much do you think Sergeant Stone knows about it?
Listen, Mr. Caldwell, at this point, I don't care who said to cooperate with you. If you want any more information about Sergeant Stone and this case, you'll have to ask him.
All right. 6 rounds. Rapid fire. Ready? Fire!
You did say $50,000, didn't you, Sergeant?
I said that, yes. That's what I assumed when I found Fenneman's body right here. I understood from Fenneman he intended to give Denborough back his money in full. But I suppose it figured when he got right down to it, he'd try to settle for less.
You think so, Sergeant? I can see a man trying to settle a $50,000 obligation for $30,000, $25,000, but $28,650.
Maybe that was all the cash he could lay his hands on.
Except that the full police report shows that there was plenty of cash in the office safe.
Okay, Counselor, what's your guess?
Well, $50,000 in the envelope to begin with, just as you said, Sergeant, and someone dipping his hand in, just grabbing, and coming up with $21,350.
Yeah, well, Counselor, I don't blame you. You got a client to defend. You could use a red herring right now. But the captain didn't assign me to go fishing with you. He just said cooperate with Mr. Judd, take him over to the place, show him the circumstances.
Well, I'm not so much interested in the circumstances at the time you found the body as when you were here earlier.
What do you mean, earlier?
When you persuaded a thief like Fenneman to give N'Buru back his money. I mean, how did you do that, Sergeant?
How I did it was, I found this. It's a Pico. There's one over there, and there's another one over here, and there's one over there, and one over there. All overlooking the card table, you see?
No.
I said to Mr. Fenneman, I'm going to have to file a report on that. I also said, unless you ante up the $50,000, I'm going to tell your nastier friends how you cheat them at gin rummy.
How did you get in to conduct this search? Did you have a warrant?
No.
Permission?
No. I didn't use force. I just slipped in before anyone knew it.
And after someone knew it, how did you stay in?
Well, let's just say that I managed to persuade them.
Well, you scared me, Sergeant. Nobody's supposed to care how a police officer handles a thief, but do you use the same tactics on ordinary citizens?
Oh, come on, Mr. Judd. You laid it on me yourself to get N'Buru's money back for him.
By proving fraud on Fenneman.
I couldn't prove a fraud. I couldn't even prove the gambling in front of a court of law. All I could do was try to scare him into getting the money up.
Getting it up for whom?
Counselor, you just lost me.
After you scared Fenneman, what did you do?
I went outside. My partner was waiting for me. He drove me home, and I went to bed.
What time was that?
About 3 a.m.
And what time was it when you came back here and found Fenneman dead on the floor?
About 8:30 a.m.
The medical examiner's report estimates the time of death between 5 and 8 a.m.
All right.
Is it all right, Sergeant? Can anyone testify that you didn't come back here between 5 and 8 a.m.?
How can anyone testify? I'm a bachelor.
I'm only trying to get you to tell me if there's anything about this case I should know that I don't know.
You mean anything to help your client?
Whatever I mean, what's your answer?
My answer is no. If I hadn't thought your client was guilty as hell, I wouldn't have arrested him.
All right, Sergeant. Just so you understand. You asked me how I could defend N'Buru. Well, I can defend him by raising in the minds of the jury a reasonable doubt as to his guilt. By suggesting to them that someone else might have had a motive for killing Fenneman. In other words, an alternate theory of the crime. Sergeant, if this case comes to trial, you'll be it.
Just a minute, Mr.
Yes?
Judd. Mr. Caldwell wants you to wait.
Why?
Orloff's inside.
Orloff?
Yeah, the assistant DA prosecuting in Borough.
What's he doing in Houston?
I came for the state's attorney's convention. Just dropped in to say hello, he says.
And you said?
Well, the convention doesn't start till tomorrow evening. I'll bet this particular hello is spelled S-T-O-N-E.
That's right. Absolutely right. That's what I came a day ahead of time to tell you in the privacy of your own office. Mr. Judd, I am shocked. Sergeant Stone came straight to me from that session with you and laid the whole preposterous story right on the line.
Did he file a signed report on it this time?
As though you would be in any hurry, Mr. Caldwell, to sign reports on all portions of your life.
I don't have a policeman's badge. Or gun. Or powers of arrest.
Which sometimes amount to the power of life and death.
What exactly do you think you can accuse him of?
At approximately 3 a.m., Stone enters the restaurant, finds peak holes, uses this to twist Fenneman's arm $50,000 worth for whose benefit? Marcel Inburu's or Sam Stone's?
You're accusing him of blackmail?
Mr. Orloff, he's already admitted the blackmail. The only question is, in whose pocket was that money supposed to wind up?
At approximately 5 a.m., Stone returns, this time unknown to his partner, to pick up the money. A dispute takes place. Stone argues in the classic manner of policemen, that is, with physical force. Now, when Stone realizes he's killed Fenneman, he loses some of his cool, grabs a $21,000 handful of the money, and runs. Returning at approximately 8:30 a.m. with his innocent young partner to make a false arrest of our client.
Mr. Judd, can you prove one word of this?
I don't have to prove an alternate theory of the crime. All I have to do is get one member of the jury to buy it, and we have reasonable doubt.
I can't believe that you could stoop to such a tactic. I could understand it if it was some hungry beginner out to make a reputation in criminal law, but...
What am I supposed to be, a fat cat who doesn't fight as hard as he can to defend a client?
You're not supposed to deliberately ruin the career of a decent, in fact, dedicated police officer. You're not supposed to destroy a man who's in the front ranks of the battle for law and order in this country.
Which means exactly what?
What do you mean, what? Are you against law and order?
Oh, no, of course not. Of course I'm for law and order. Everybody's for it. But which laws and whose order? Some people have stood in a schoolhouse door to resist a court decision to integrate that school and called it law and order. Some people are against registering guns in the name of law and order. Is the law just a club that we can use against people who do things we feel they shouldn't do? Or is the law supposed to protect them too? If so, why is the Supreme Court under fire for guaranteeing the rights of defendants? And what is order supposed to be nowadays? No riots or no demonstrations? You know, there's one kind of law and order that calls for the strict enforcement of civil rights legislation and another that calls for the shooting of looters. To me, there's only one kind of law and order that has any real meaning, and that is law with justice. When a policeman enters premises illegally and stays there by using his fists, for what kind is he supposed to be working?
Mr. Judd, if you're trying to get my office to let your client plead to a lesser charge, why don't you say so?
My client tells me he's entirely innocent.
If you're serious about accusing Sergeant Stone, let me remind you that in his 20-year record, there's never been even one hint that he ever solicited a bribe or shook anyone down for 5 cents. Why would he suddenly try such a thing now?
Let me answer you this way. I was once stopped for speeding 6 miles over the limit by a cop who had to get his quota. I said, "Officer, I've never had a citation in all my years of driving." Well, he looked at me with a grin and said, "It was always the first time." It's that grin I never forget.
Bill Deacon Jr., ladies and gentlemen, thanking you for being such a fine audience and asking a question. Can you booze it up for the next 15 minutes without me?
Hey, you sing nice.
Thank you, sir. Unless you're the fuzz, in which case I hope you choke.
No, just a lawyer.
It's funny, you don't look like a lawyer.
I happen to be a lawyer for your friend, Marcel Mburu. Mr. Deacon, the reason I came down here was to ask you about a very specific fuzz, Sergeant Stone. Would you be willing to talk about it?
My friend, if you start me, you will have a hard time getting me to stop.
Okay, you started. In your opinion, was Stone trying to help Mburu?
Out of this world.
Meaning?
Meaning he was trying to help him leave this world for the next. But he threw him down the stairs. You didn't know about that.
Oh, let's stay for the moment with what I mean, which is, was Stone making any real effort to recover Mburu's money for him?
Help Mburu recover his money, right? You ready? Stone said to me, we understand you met Mburu in Africa, and he gave you $50,000 for a charity fundraising campaign in the United States. Now, what did you do with the money? And I said to him, I turned it over to Charlie Fenneman, who has all kinds of great contacts with charity fundraising types. Then he looked at me with those hard fuzz eyes, said, now listen, black boy.
Stone said that to you?
The Stone eyes said that. What the Stone mouth said was, can you prove you turned it over to him? So I showed him a receipt, at which point he lost interest in the whole swindle, although he did retain enough interest in Mburu to try to kill him.
You said that before, didn't you? Stone tried to kill Mburu, something about throwing him downstairs?
You didn't know about that?
I know about the stairs, but that wasn't lethal, was it?
You didn't know that just this afternoon, they had to rush Mburu to the prison hospital, bleeding from the mouth?
Now listen, Mburu. Don't you understand we only want to help you?
Panamaneno. Toca.
He won't eat, won't take medication, won't even speak English.
Mr. Mburu, my name is Ben Caldwell. I'm an associate of Clinton Judd.
You must get me out of here. You must get me out because I do not want to die here. No, unthinkable. Please. I do not want to die in this miserable place of yours. I want to die at home.
Who said anything about dying?
There was a man from my village who fell from a high rock. And when he picked himself up, blood was running out of his mouth. Soon he could walk very well. But by the time the rains came, he was dead.
And what about this?
We're not really equipped to make a diagnosis like this here. They'll do better when we can move them to a general hospital.
Now, what do you think?
We can't really think. We can guess. Everything from esophageal varices to an ulcer.
But being thrown down a flight of stairs, could it be that?
Internal injuries? It's the best bet, of course.
Until the court please, what, if anything, happened then?
Then Sergeant Stone indicated to me that the man was dead. And as we're about to leave the phone in, we spotted Mburu hiding behind the door.
And what, if anything, happened then?
Well, we struggled with the suspect, were able to subdue him, and then we placed him under arrest.
Thank you very much, Officer Briggs. Mr. Judd may cross-examine.
Officer Briggs. Exactly when did you arrest my client? Before or after Sergeant Stone threw him down the stairs?
Objection.
The witness is free to deny it.
No, he can't get away with that, Your Honor. This witness has not testified to any throwing or even any falling down the stairs. Therefore, Mr. Judd is not entitled to cross-examine him on it.
My client was only this weekend removed from the prison infirmary to Samaritan General Hospital suffering from internal injuries. I am not only entitled, I am required to ask whether this is the result of police brutality.
Your Honor, this is only a preliminary hearing to determine one matter alone. Do the people have cause to keep the defendant in custody, or do they not?
Your Honor, I will forego any further cross-examination of this witness if the prosecution will present its key witness in the case. Sergeant Sam Stone, the senior arresting officer. He's present in court. Yes, thank you. Prosecution afraid to put him on the stand?
May it please the court, I call Sergeant Stone. In your own words then, Sergeant, how did it happen?
My partner found Enburo hiding behind the door. Enburo belted him, rushed out of the room. I rushed out of the room after him, grabbed a hold of him. My partner came along and grabbed a hold of him. We tried to subdue him, but he was too strong for us. And we just stood there at the top of the stairs, wrestling around, and fell down, all three of us.
So it would be fair to say that you didn't throw Mr. Enburo down the stairs any more than he threw you.
You could say that.
Thank you, Sergeant. Defense may cross-examine.
Sergeant Stone, you testified, didn't you, that you couldn't subdue Mr. Enburo at first because he was too strong for you?
Yes, sir.
That after Mr. Enburo sustained internal injuries by falling down the stairs, then you were able to subdue him, weren't you?
Objection. The witness is not a physician who can diagnose internal injuries. As a matter of fact, the physicians attending Mr. Enburo are still not certain what's wrong with him.
Possibly, Your Honor, because Mr. Orloff borrowed their microscopes in order to find such a minute point to quibble over.
Nevertheless, Mr. Judd, I'm going to sustain him.
Very well, Your Honor. And Sergeant Stone, I'll remind you that you're under oath, and I will ask you if you used any wrestling hold or karate chop or professional trick of your trade to cause Mr. Enburo to fall down those stairs.
I'm not aware that I...
Just a minute, please. Sergeant, I'd prefer not to call your partner, Jim Briggs, back to the stand. I'd rather not put him in the predicament of having to decide whether he should or should not confirm your testimony under oath.
Objection.
Never mind, I'll answer. I may have used a routine trip out on the suspect, but I had no intention of causing him any real harm.
No intention of causing him any harm. You were just routinely going about your job of upholding law and order.
That is correct.
And you routinely get so rough about it.
I do when I have to, and you don't.
Sergeant, I'll direct your attention to another portion of your testimony in which you claim that you sincerely tried to recover for Mr. Enburo the money which the deceased Fenneman had swindled him out of. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And with whom did you have to deal in the course of this sincere effort?
Enburo and Mr. Phil Deacon, Jr. Mr. Deacon claims that he legitimately turned over the money to Mr. Fenneman, and I couldn't prove otherwise.
And, of course, you had to deal with Fenneman himself.
Yes.
And with whom else?
No one.
You sure?
Who else was there for me to deal with?
Sergeant, I'm asking you.
I've already given you my answer.
Have you, Sergeant? And is it your testimony that when you went to Fenneman's restaurant and forced him to get up the $50,000, you didn't also have to deal with a couple of doormen who were doubling as bodyguards?
Oh, yes, but they were...
Easy to deal with?
Not hard.
Oh, you just beat them up and then flashed your badge? Or did you flash your badge first?
That question, Counselor, I'm not going to answer.
All right, then I'll ask you this. How did you get rid of those two men?
How did I what?
Get rid of them, Sergeant. They weren't around when you and Officer Briggs found the body of Fenneman, were they?
No.
Why not?
Off duty, I guess.
Oh, did they show up later in the day? Come in for work that evening? Or the next evening? Did he even come around to collect their paychecks? Or haven't they, as a matter of fact, literally disappeared from this scene?
Objection. Your Honor, I submit that no amount of procedural informality entitles Mr. Judd to such license in attacking a police
officer. It is
officer.
not license for me to defend my client. Your Honor, I am seeking to discover whether the actions of this officer show that he himself knew that he was arresting an innocent man.
Mr. Orloff, I will hear this point, whether it is in line with formalities or not. Mr. Judd, do you believe that Sergeant Stone knows why those two doormen disappeared?
Your Honor, if he says under oath that he doesn't know, maybe the last thing he ever says as a police officer.
All right, Mr. Judd, I know. When I checked on Fenneman, I checked on all his friends, the important ones.
Doormen are important.
Muscle men are important.
Ah, I stand corrected.
I found marks against them, minor charges, auto theft, things like that. Nothing that I could really get any leverage on, but just enough to show me that there was probably more than was on the record. So I pulled a little bluff. I told both of them I had fugitive warrants on them. And I told them if they didn't get out of town, like in 2 or 3 minutes, I'd bust them and hold them FOA for other authorities.
And this game you played, this bluff you carried on under cover of your badge, this bending of the law for your own purposes, is this your idea of how to uphold law and order?
And what's your idea? To put me through the ringer when you know damn well I did it for your client?
How did you do it for my client?
They were Fenneman's muscle. I was afraid he might use them against Nburu.
Do you seriously expect this court to believe you were afraid of that? Or weren't you really afraid that if those doormen stayed around, they might be witnesses to your $50,000 extortion?
May it please the court? Your Honor, I would appreciate a moment's indulgence to confer with my associate.
Yes, of course, Mr. Caldwell.
Your Honor, may I ask for a recess for the balance of the day?
For what reason, Mr. Judd?
Thorough tests conducted at the General Hospital on my client, Your Honor, indicate something very different about his medical condition.
They are telling me it has nothing to do with whether I was or was not thrown down the stairs.
But I don't think, Mr. Judd, that our patient is willing to believe us.
What exactly do we want him to believe, Doctor?
That his problem is not internal injuries. It is something of dietary origin, cirrhosis of the liver. Admitting that this is a variety that we couldn't diagnose until we had not only finished the test, but also consulted several specialists who have worked in Africa, we now know it isn't the fault of any fall down a flight of stairs, Mr. Judd.
Well, whose fault is it, Doctor?
It is the fault of my mother. Because she fed me in the way that every Takangan mother feeds her children. That is why I am sick now. If I can believe him.
Mr. Nburu, from the day you were weaned, you were fed on nothing but corn or starch roots. Manioc, that's the principal root as I understand it. And all this time, your body needed protein to grow on. Protein. And you didn't get it. Which means that you were starving.
If I can believe him.
All over Africa, your people are starving for protein. And they don't eat meat or eggs or fish or drink milk.
If I want to believe him.
Mr. Nburu, I have to tell you there is no good reason why you should not believe the doctor.
Well, what of it?
Well, among a lot of things, it's clear that you didn't get sick because Sergeant Stone threw you down the stairs.
All right, then. I suppose I must have fallen down because I was sick.
What do you mean, you must have fallen?
I mean, if I were not sick, he could not have thrown me down. Himself or with the help of 10 others like him.
But you said he threw you down.
I said it when I thought I was sick because of him. All right. It was not true.
What else did he say that wasn't true? God help me, I ruined a man because of what he said. And now he says it wasn't true. May it please the court. Mr. Orloff has agreed to a suspension of regular procedure in order to allow the defendant to return to the hospital in the shortest possible time.
Very well, Mr. Judd.
I will call first to the stand his physician, Dr. Nelson Kornbluth.
Yes, under the circumstances, he's alone in this country. There are no relatives here I could confide in. So I told Mr. Nburu very frankly about his condition and our prognosis.
And did you, at my request, ask Mr. Nburu for permission to make this known to the court?
I did, and he gave me permission. Mr. Nburu is suffering from cirrhosis of the liver in an advanced stage.
By advanced, do you mean to say that this condition is very serious?
I'm afraid I have to say it's ultimately going to be fatal.
Your Honor, defense now calls the defendant.
I was at that time in a mood, you understand. A mood of anger. A mood to strike back.
And in what kind of mood are you now?
Well, what shall I say? A sad mood, a glad mood. But also a mood to reveal the truth. As you heard the doctor say, I am not going to live very much longer. I go to meet my ancestors, if I can believe him.
In this mood, Mr. Nburu, please tell the court whether you did in any way cause the death of Charles G. Fenneman.
I did not.
And in this mood, tell the court exactly what took place between you and Fenneman when you went to his restaurant.
Exactly nothing. He was dead when I found him.
And still in this mood, tell the court where you got the money to engage me as your attorney.
What was that?
A very simple question. At one time you didn't want to retain me, at another time you did because you had suddenly acquired the money with which to pay me. Now, where did you get it?
I got the money from Deacon.
Phil Deacon, Jr.?
Yes, he gave it to me.
How did it happen? Tell the court.
When I was in the police station, he made a chance to talk with me. And he said, I am putting to your account in the First Beverly Bank $2,000. And I asked him, why? And he said, because I am black like you.
But you never told me about that.
No. Deacon said I should not, and I said, why not? And he said, because you are black like me. And I knew then what he was really talking about. The war between the black man and the policeman in the United States. All over your country it is going on, this war.
In other words, you felt there was some reason to protect Deacon from the police.
Yes. But now I am wondering, you know, perhaps there is one policeman I ought to protect from Deacon.
So there I am in the Republic of Takanga, right? Where they got 2 nightclubs. Count 'em, 1 and a half. So we got the idea, Nburu and I, that American public relations could do a job raising money for those starving people there. So Nburu got together $50,000 and he gave the bread to me to give to Charlie Fenneman, who had all those great contacts in charity circles.
Did you give the money to Fenneman?
100%.
Did you expect a cut for yourself?
Mr. Judd, I believe the deal was legitimate. You promised me we would make it very clear I was acting 100% legitimate.
All right, let's put it this way. Did you expect a commission?
10%.
So that this charity operation was already no more than 90% legitimate.
Oh, don't put it on my head. Charlie Fenneman was supposed to get a commission, too.
And the professional fundraising experts were also slated for percentages?
You have to spend money to raise money.
Well, how much did Fenneman actually spend to raise money for starving Takanga?
As far as I could see, he put the whole bundle in his pocket. And I mean the whole bundle. He never even paid me my commission.
He never paid you your commission. That is disgraceful. What, if anything, did you do about it, Mr. D?
I did nothing. I couldn't fight Charlie Fenneman. He had friends like Johnny Lobel and Pete the Dutchman Henning. Matty Marco was his friend. They all used to gamble with him in his card room upstairs. They went in with him on who knows what kind of deals. I couldn't fight the mob.
So you stayed clear of Fenneman because you were afraid of him?
You know it.
Tell the court when your last contact with him took place.
Well, it was that night, about 3 o'clock, 3:30, and I was still on the gig at the piano bar. And he called and said to come over. He wanted me to take some money to somebody for him. That was all he told me.
Well, did you go?
Not that I wanted to. So I finished up at the club, and then I kind of stalled around for a while because I didn't want to go, but I was afraid not to. So about 5 o'clock, I went.
Now, Mr. Deacon, in the light of all the charges and counter-charges about the events of that night, do you now believe this to be possible? That Fenneman wanted you to deliver extortion money to Sergeant Stone?
No. They wouldn't want to witness to a thing like that.
Well, then, you believe this to be possible. That Fenneman wanted you to take Nburu's money back to him?
Yeah. Right. That's the way it had to be.
Why had to be?
Because if a tough cop like Stone was going to make Fenneman give back the money, then Fenneman would want to witness that he did it. But how could I believe that back then? No way, man. No way.
Mr. Deacon, I now direct your attention to from what you believe to what you saw. You went to Fenneman's restaurant at approximately 5 a.m. Tell the court what you saw.
I saw Fenneman. He was dead. Stretched out on the floor. Stiff, open-eyed dead.
Mr. Deacon, I will ask you once for the record. Did you kill him?
Kill him? Man, not only did I not kill him, anybody who knows his way around at all has got to know I didn't kill him.
Mr. Deacon, you don't have to make quite so much noise.
Judge, it's just that I can make noise and ought to show I wasn't the one who did him in. If it was me hauled off and killed Charlie Fenneman, you think those friends of his would let me still be alive?
In that case, is there anything you can tell the court about who did kill Fenneman?
No.
No? You mean nothing has been said around in your circles?
Well, that wouldn't be information. That would be hearsay.
Oh, I believe the court will allow it. This is, after all, only a preliminary hearing. New information should be welcome from any source.
Yes. I would like to hear what is being said, Mr. Deacon.
Well, they say it was Fenneman's friends played gin rummy upstairs. They found out that he was giving them a royal rooking, and they paid him back good. Now, I mean, which friends, they don't say, and I couldn't even begin to guess, you know what I mean?
Isn't it also being said around how Fenneman's friends found out that he was cheating them?
No, that I haven't heard.
Now, Mr. Deacon, having in all innocence discovered the body of Fenneman, as you say, did you report this to the police?
No, I didn't.
You didn't? Why didn't you?
That's all I had to do, was give them one clue that I was anywhere near Fenneman when he got killed, and they would try to pin it on me.
So you considered it the better part of valor to remain quiet?
You better believe it.
Even though Mr. Nburu was arrested for a crime you knew he didn't commit?
Look, I figured, what were they going to do to a character like him? Whereas me, they would try to send up forever, at least. Besides, that's why I gave him the money.
The money? Oh, what money is that?
You know what money it is. That's why I have to be sitting up here going through these changes right now.
Well, but tell the court, please.
There was some money sticking out of an envelope, sticking out of Fenneman's pocket when I found him.
What about the money? Mr. Deacon, what, if anything, did you do about that money?
I didn't know it was supposed to be in Buru's.
I'm not asking you what you knew. I'm asking what you did.
I grabbed a fistful and split.
Grabbed the fistful?
It was legit, man. He owed me $5,000 commission.
But you took $21,350.
I didn't know what I was taking. What was I supposed to do? Stay around and count it?
But you counted it after you got it home, didn't you?
Yes.
And what, if anything, Mr. Deacon, did you do when you discovered that you had taken too much money?
I decided to give some to Nburu.
And that was supposed to make it all legitimate, Mr. Deacon. Why?
I just thought maybe... I don't know. Maybe I don't know why, all right?
But you gave Mr. Nburu a whole $2,000 out of an excess profit of $16,350.
All right, so I'm not that legitimate. So who is?
I would be willing to reevaluate my professional view of this case, yes.
Sergeant, at the outset, I told you that I would offer you as an alternate theory of the crime. The theory that you killed Fenneman in the course of extorting money from him. Well, I tell you now, Sergeant, that no one, including myself, can believe such a thing any longer.
Well, Counselor, I appreciate that.
I hope your appreciation will not sway your professional judgment.
No, it will not.
All right, I put it to you that you didn't know there was a corroborative witness to my client's claim of finding Fenneman dead. Phil Deacon's testimony confirms this, doesn't it?
Deacon's testimony tends to confirm it, yes.
Sergeant, can you fill one of the gaps in that testimony by suggesting how Fenneman's friends could have learned that he was cheating them? I want a professional opinion, Sergeant.
Well, Counselor, it could be that the two doormen that I chased out of town picked up some cash by selling information about Picos to Fenneman's friends.
And one final question, Sergeant. In light of what we have all learned about this case, if you had made no arrests until now, whom would you now arrest?
Well, I have to say the way the case sets up now, I don't have a clear enough line on it to arrest anyone.
Your Honor, I can't stand before this court and say who killed Charles Fenneman. I can only point out that Sergeant Sam Stone has been gracious enough to admit that he doesn't know either. And I can suggest that it is far less important that our society should punish this crime than that it should extend every possible manner of consideration and fairness and equity and protection to this defendant. And I move that the case be dismissed. Represents the return of your original $50,000.
I see a check reading $48,000.
That's correct. Part of it recovered from Phil Deacon, part of it from the estate of Charles Fenneman, and the rest you already have.
Forgive me. I had forgotten that I must pay you $2,000, Mr. Judd.
No, I'd rather see you take the whole round sum back home. I'm sure you'll be able to put it to good use.
Oh, yes. I think so. It won't buy very much food, but that is not the main problem. From what all your clever people tell me, the main problem is to teach protein. Is that right? Protein.
That's right, Mr. Enburu.
Will I have time before I leave this world?
You'll have time, Mr. Enburu. Remember what the doctors say. You're not going to leave this world next week or next month.
But next year.
You we don't lie to, Mr. Enburu. It's possible.
Well, I tell you what I would like. Sergeant Stone. I would like very much to wrestle with you again at the top of the stairs. See who is able to throw the other down.
Sure. Anytime.
Anytime. Brave man. When the doctors say I will never be able to.
Yeah, well, you don't believe anything anyone around here says now. How come all of a sudden you believe that?
Mr. Enburu, they're ready for you in X-ray.
All right. Goodbye. I mean to say,